Alrighty, welcome back to Religiously Reactive. We left off talking about a whole bunch of names and ages and stuff, and now we're at the Tower of Babel. Still in Genesis. Looks like it says Genesis 11:4. I don't know how to properly read scriptures and what addresses those scriptures have. But we're now at the Tower of Babel. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As men moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Now, I believe we mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if it's skipping around timeline or whatnot, because earlier it mentioned different languages. I was like, what happened to Tower of Babel? I thought that's what created different languages. Maybe they're skipping around with the ages and the bloodlines. The Tower of Babel. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As men moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone, and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves, and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the men were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." Come on, say what? Why, were they onto something? The alien overlord is like, oh shoot, they're like building stuff. They're like intelligent. They might be as intelligent as us gods are. Can't have that. Let's put a little separation going on. Why wouldn't you want people? And then God complains that they're corrupt and they're against each other and they're warring. It's like, you didn't like when they were working together kindly. It makes no gosh darn sense. And then what about the towers we have now? The super tall skyscrapers. Surely their brick building did not reach as tall as our skyscrapers did. Where's the new fraction of people? Huh? We built up pretty big. Heck, we're going outer space now. That God didn't see that as a problem? Whatever. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. So in his spaceship, he just picked people up, messed with their brains, made them speak a different language, and plopped them back down there, went back, picked up a group of people, messed with their brains, plopped them out. Certainly, a lot of this is sounding like aliens over a god overlord. Just saying. From Shem to Abram. This is the account of Shem. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. And after he became the father of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Shelah. And after he became the father of Shelah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. And after he became the father of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he became the father of Peleg. And after he became the father of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Reu. And after he became the father of Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and had other sons and daughters. I guess not a lot of natural things taking people out. Animals drowning, heat stroke. Bum, bum, bum. When Reu had lived 32 years, he became the father of Serug. And after he became the father of Serug, Reu lived 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he became the father of Nahor. And after he became the father of Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah. And after he became the father of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. This is the account of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was barren, she had no children. Terah took his son Abram, and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. The call of Abram. The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." Sounds like Abram is a narcissist and wrote this. So Abram left, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. Riveting. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh at Shechem. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he went on towards the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram set out and continued toward the Negev. Abram in Egypt. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there for a while, because the famine was severe. So much for all that blessing. Am I right? As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife, Sarai, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my family will be spared, and my life will be spared because of you." When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that she was a very beautiful woman. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abram well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, manservants and maidservants, and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. "What have you done to me?" he said. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go." Then Pharaoh gave orders about Abram to his men, and they sent him on his way, with his wife and everything he had. Abram and Lot separate. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev, with his wife and everything he had, and Lot with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. Actually, I wanted to back up. I was expecting more there, but I think I'm getting stories confused. So because Abram, the blessed one of God, lied, whored out his wife to the Pharaoh, God punished the Pharaoh for something he didn't even know he was doing wrong, and the people, all of them suffering, because his blessed one decided to lie and whore out his wife. What a benevolent God. I definitely want to worship this God. Yeah. Let's worship such a vindictive, idiotic piece of doo-doo. I feel comfortable saying that. Like I said, I'm spiritual, not religious. I feel comfortable saying that, even though others would consider it blasphemy. Because again, if this is the God we're worshiping, I don't want nothing to do with him. He sounds like a piece of work. The God I worship in my spirituality is not this piece of work. Okay? And I'll just leave it at that. So I'm not putting blasphemy on the God I believe exists, because the God I would be willing to worship does not do crap like this. It's plain as that. Alrighty. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev, with his wife and everything he had, and Lot with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold, from whoring out his wife. From the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed there, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herdsmen and the herdsmen of Lot. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herdsmen and mine, for we are brothers. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." Lot looked up and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt toward Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you." So Abram moved his tents and went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. Abram rescues Lot. At this time Amphraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, went to war against Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Adamah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zor. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had been subjected to Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Raphites in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzites in Ham, the Emites in Shavah Kiriataim, and the Horites in the hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran near the desert. Then they turned back and went to En-Mishpat, that is, Kadesh. And they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who were living in Hazazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zor, marched out and drew up their battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men fell into them, and the rest fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food. Then they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot, and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. One who had escaped came and reported this to Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre, the great trees of Mamre, the Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hobab, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the woman and the other people. After Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shavah, that is, the king's valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. Well, heck, bless Abram, give me a piece. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and have taken an oath that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the thong of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me. To Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them have their share. I will accept nothing that belongs to you, except for everything that we think is fair for us to take, and I'll give you 1/10 of what you had before. But I won't accept anything. Whatever. Ridiculous. God's covenant with Abram. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, O sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him, This man will not be your heir, but a son coming from your own body will be your heir. He took him outside and said, Look up at the heavens and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. He also said to him, I am the Lord, who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take possession of it. But Abram said, O sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? So the Lord said to him, Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abram brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep. Okay, God said bring you the animals. He said nothing about cutting them in half. What the heck? And again, if this is the God to be worshipped, I don't care to worship him. Doesn't sound like a good guy. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated for 100 years. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your fathers in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. So God's just waiting around for these people to cross the line so he can just wipe them out and hand over their land to blessed Abraham. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, To your descendants I give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Raphites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. Giving me a headache reading this. Hagar and Ishmael. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. So she said to Abram, The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai his wife took her Egyptian maidservant Hagar and gave her to the husband to be his wife. He raped Hagar and she conceived. He slept with Hagar and she conceived. I mean, come on. She gave her maidservant, and how old was this maidservant, may I ask? Abram slept with her and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Okay, so it was rape. Then Sarai said to Abram, You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my servant in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. Now she's mad that the maidservant is pregnant and doesn't like her because she gave her to her husband to be raped. Okay. You chose that. She didn't choose it. Lordy knows the poor maidservant didn't choose any of this. Your servant is in your hands, Abram said. Do with her whatever you think best. Lord Almighty. Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. This poor maidservant, just being used and abused by this narcissistic couple, and she finally ran away. Good for her. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, Go back to your mistress and submit to her. The angel added, I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count. Yeah, just go back to your abuser. The angel of the Lord is telling this poor maidservant who's been raped and abused to go back to her mistress and submit to her. This is the God we want to worship? Really? Okay. You have fun with that. I will choose a different path. Thank you very much. The angel of the Lord also said to her, You are now with child, and you will have a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers. I know you've been used, abused, raped, and the Lord's heard about this, but you need to go back and submit to your mistress, and your son is just going to live a miserable life. Oh, and you also need to name him this. You don't get a choice in anything. So much for free will, free choice, and following your own path. No, you don't get a choice in one darn thing. She gave his name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me, for she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. That is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. It is still there, between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave him the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. Lovely. Let's see, 28 minutes. The covenant of circumcision. I think this is a good place to pause. 28-minute video. No need to make it too crazy. And I'll probably just start up recording the next segment, the covenant of circumcision. Let's see, how many pages did we get through? We've been averaging about 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like we're doing 4 pagements per segment. 4 pages per segment. Thank you for joining me. We are still in Genesis. We will be in Genesis not really all that much longer. Still several hours, but not that much longer. And in case you're just jumping in, or missed at the beginning, or I missed at the beginning, the point here is to read the Bible from start to finish, because in church, you don't get that. And also have my personal commentary on what is being read. And what I'm saying doesn't need to have historical accuracy. I know there's been a whole bunch of professionals picking apart all this, putting things together, making assumptions or discoveries or whatever else have you. But I was raised being told the book is the word is the truth, this is what we follow. So as a layman, reading the book, which is the word, which is the truth, these are my thoughts on it, and the inconsistencies and whatever else have you. If we want to discuss that, we can absolutely discuss in the comments or whatever have you. But if you're coming on here to be like, well, that's not really how it goes, or they came up with this, that has nothing to do with why I'm here and why I'm doing this. This is what the layman is supposed to be reading. We shouldn't need a bunch of professionals to pick it apart and tell us how then to think about it. If this is what God wanted us to know, then this is what we're going to know. And so far, not pleased with what I'm knowing. That's all I'm going to say. Hopefully you join us back for likely the next 4 pages. Bye.